This is the GO3 and it's the latest camera from Insta360. Let's see how it performs. Now the GO3 is not surprisingly the successor to the popular GO2, which was a great camera. It was really tiny and easy to carry around. The main problem with it though was the battery life and the storage space. Now Insta360 brought out an iteration of that camera which had more storage space, but battery life was still a bit of a problem and you couldn't see what you were shooting precisely unless you hooked it up to your phone. Now the GO3 takes things further and now we have a camera that's just ever so slightly bigger than the GO2, but it has this new action pod which makes the camera a two-piece system. This means that you can use this camera for vlogging as well as out-and-out action just using the camera itself. Now the system isn't fully waterproof in this configuration, but the camera on its own is, so you can use that in whatever adventure sport you like, and then when you're doing your vlogging element you can use this action pod. It has a really great LCD on it which is flippable so that you can do selfie style shots and you can see the framing that you're getting. Also new to the camera is a magnetic mounting system with clips, which is very similar to what you find with the DJI Action series. Now, this is very simple. It can go on clip on like so with the action pod, but what's great is that the GO3 camera itself also has these same mounts on, which means it can clip onto the same system as the action pod. That makes it highly versatile and easy to move the camera around. The only problem I have with it is that it can be a little bit finicky. It suffers from some of the same kinds of problems and issues that I found with the DJI Action 2, whereby the clips were a little bit easy to undo. I'm not sure if you're using it in a really violent situation whether they would hold, because all it takes is for one of these clips to undo and it's pretty easy for it to pull off. Okay, the wind's blowing quite considerably, so I hope you can hear this. I've just been out for what could be considered a pretty disastrous surf kayak session, but my fears about the magnetic mount have actually come true. I nearly lost the camera. It came off, luckily in the shallows, but it took me quite a while to find it. All I did was knock the mount with my paddle, just on one side of it, on one side where you push in to release one side of the mount. Now the DJI Action 3 solved this problem and it's really hard to put apart. This one suffers from the same problems as the Action 2, so yeah, you know, I could very easily have lost this camera and not found it again. Now, unlike the GO2, the GO3 has two different video shooting modes on it. You've got the free frame mode, which is very similar to the original GO2, whereby you need to take it through a post-production process. You need to put it into the Insta360 software. You can choose your framing. You've got some ability to reframe as well and choose your aspect ratio. This is the mode that I would recommend most people shoot in if they're trying to get the highest quality footage. But you can also put it into a straight video mode, which means that the camera will just shoot straight video and whatever result you get is baked in. And that's great for casual users, people who don't want to be messing around with things in editing. They just want to get the footage and be done with it. And the stabilisation in both modes is absolutely fantastic, although I do prefer the free frame mode because it just gives you that much more flexibility when it comes to editing. And I think it retains a slightly wider angle of view as well when combined with the stabilisation. Now, other aspects to this camera which have been improved, it's got a little on the back here, it's like a bit of a heat sink style design. Now the Go2 had very limited recording time. That's not a problem with the Go3. You can record for as long as you want without any issues at all. Furthermore, unlike the Go2, the Go3 has lots of different shooting modes on. You not only have the time-lapse mode and hyperlapse mode, but you can also take still photos as well and still time lapses. So you can take a time lapse using raw image files if you want to do that. You can also set the camera up to have a pre-scheduled start time. So you could leave the camera overnight in position and you could tell it what time to wake up and start taking that time lapse if you don't want to get up early to record that sunrise. Now, I would say that this camera is very much suited to impromptu lifestyle shots rather than just out and out action like a GoPro or the other Insta360 cameras like the One RS. But you can still use it for action sports, although there are a few things about it that I think need a bit of improvement. If I'm using this on a helmet, it's great because it's extremely lightweight. A lot of action cameras can feel a little bit heavy on the head. This thing is absolutely fantastic because it is so small. The only drawback that I found with it when I've been using it in that kind of situation is that I need to keep asking people whether it's recording or not. It's very easy to get into a situation where you are stopping recording when you think you're starting recording because the sound on it isn't loud enough. I would like to have a louder sound to indicate that it's recording, but apart from that, it works really great for POV. It's got a really nice wide angle of view, particularly when you're using it in free frame mode. What's great about that is that if you have angled the camera slightly lower than you'd like, in free frame mode, you're free to just lift that camera view up a little bit more. So you're not having to worry so much whether you've got absolutely precise framing all the time while it's in use. The lens protector isn't hydrophobic. It's also replaceable as well. It's fully compatible with the Go2 lens protector as well. So if you have one of those lying around, you could also use that as a spare. It also means that if you are more professionally minded and you want to use this in spaces where you simply cannot get any other camera, even a camera like a GoPro, you can use ND filters on it as well, and you can set the exposure manually, setting the shutter and the ISO to a manual setting to get exactly the result that you want. Because it's a smaller sensor, I noticed when I was doing mountain biking in a forest, the stabilisation, it did get a little bit blurry at times. There is a low light setting which I believe maximises the shutter speed at the expense of ISO levels. I found that I still had problems with some shake, but it's still a passable result. It's still an okay result. And you've got to remember this is such a small sensor in such a small device. If you're filming in good light, then it's not going to be a problem for you, but it's just something to be aware of if you want to use it for mountain biking. It is great in that scenario because A, it's really lightweight if you want to use that the way, or when you're using it with the action pod, it's great to be able to see the framing that you're getting on it as well. One thing I have found is that because of the way free frame mode works, when you're viewing the image on the LCD on the back here, there is slightly more on the top and bottom that you're capturing than you might think that you're getting from looking at the LCD screen. Speaking of this LCD screen, it's really nice to use. The touch sensitivity of it is really good. The Insta360 menu system works really well on here. If you've ever used the One RS and you're finicking around on that little tiny display, on this it works really well indeed. It's really clear and you get haptic feedback for presses on it. It's a really nicely designed system. And one thing I've also found is that the sound pickup on it is a massive improvement on previous Insta360 cameras. I used this on my mountain bike and I was going downhill, not a very steep hill, but there was still lots of wind, rushing past. And when I was speaking, my voice was still intelligible. And I didn't have any particular wind reduction or noise reduction modes turned on with the camera.
Let's see what the sound is like recording me on this chest mount, showcasing my hopeless MTV skills on this red route. I'm definitely not ready for black routes.
So the image quality on this I think is quite noticeably improved from the Go2. I still notice some compression artifacts going through it, but it records at around 80 megabits per second. The resolution has increased to 2.7K if you're using it in standard mode, but it's still the 1440p if you use it in free frame mode, although I still think free frame mode is just better all round, and it actually upscales to 4K really nicely, I feel. Insta360 recommended that for review I set this to the medium settings. I always think that these cameras set to the lowest sharpness setting is the best way to go, and I don't think that I'm wrong with this either. It's still a really nicely sharp image, but it's not that horrible or overly enhanced digital look. It looks much better than the Go2, I think, and if you want to bring that sharpness back again, you can do so in your favorite editing software. So that's what I would recommend. Set the sharpness on this to low. You're not going to regret it. It goes much more easily on the compression system as well, and it just allows you that bit more control afterwards, but you're not going to think that it's a soft image. It looks really great and works really nicely. Speaking of which, the colors are good as well. Insta360 seem to do a pretty good job with their color science, so it looks great all around. The only thing is you will notice those compression artifacts in fast moving scenarios, but when the camera, when the actual picture is moving and you're not focused on that with this type of thing, you're kind of more focused on the moment. So if you're picking up on that kind of thing, then maybe there's something wrong with the footage that you're taking. It might not be interesting enough. Remember, this isn't a professional camera. It's not designed for the kind of person who wants the absolute ultimate image quality. Is designed for lifestyle moments and being really fluid in how you capture your footage and just getting things as they happen. The saying is the best camera is the one that you have with you, and this is a camera that you can very easily take with you wherever you go. It's not as compact as the Go2 with this action pod. The original pod with the Go2 was much more like sort of earbuds that you might carry with you. This is a bit more bulky. It makes it more of the size of maybe a GoPro Hero 8, but still it's very small. It's still convenient to take around. The battery life when you use it with the action pod is pretty good. I think it's about 140 minutes or so you can get with it. You'll get around 40 to 45 minutes with the camera on its own, depending on the kind of setting that you have with it. The only thing I wish that they would do with this action pod is put an SD card slot on. It charges the camera really quickly. So if you're going between places, you might be going to multiple locations in a day, it charges it really well, and you can use it with this. If you don't need to use the camera on its own for its size, just using it in the pod will give you a lot of battery life. The only limitation is your storage space. So when you buy the camera, you really need to make sure that you're getting the maximum storage space you can. If you go for one of the smaller options, you might regret it. If they put an SD card slot onto the action pod, I think that would go a long way to helping this, enabling you to be able to offload that footage, then erasing the camera and then carrying on with a fresh, newly emptied camera for your next adventures. I think that would be the way that things should go. Let's see Insta360, what you think. One of the really great things about this system is that when the camera is detached from the action pod, you can still view what the camera is seeing. You can still control it and you can still adjust its settings, which means that you can place the camera in all sorts of awkward places and you can still control the camera and view the shot from the action pod. That's a really great addition, and that means that if you're using, for example, one of the really long extendable selfie poles, Insta360 do a 3-meter long pole, for example, you can put the camera on the end and then you can put the action pod, just clamp it to the base of the selfie stick and you can see what you're shooting. Normally you have to do it blind, but in this case you can actually fit up a system so that you can see what you're actually shooting. One neat little trick you can do when you're using it on a selfie stick as a kind of crane or jib is you can take advantage of that free frame mode, which captures the entire square area of the sensor, and when you use it through the software, the horizon will stay level, which means that you can do these jib shots with the camera and not have to worry about a level horizon. You can just move the camera up through the arc and not have to worry about that. It's kind of a neat little trick and something you could probably do with one of the GoPro modes, but on the Insta360 GO3 you get that really ultra wide angle of view as well. So the question is, would I recommend this over something like a GoPro? Now, you have to remember that Insta360 itself has a GoPro equivalent in the form of the One RS. That is an out-and-out action camera. This is a different beast altogether. I would put this more along the lines of the DJI Action 2, which has a similar kind of way of working. It has a camera, a very small camera module that connects to a battery system with an LCD viewfinder if you need it. That's closer to what this is. I think this is much more of a generalized lifestyle camera that you could use as an action camera if you wanted it. So if you're not doing out-and-out action sports all the time, but you are capturing family moments, you're bringing up kids and you want to capture, you know, your child's first words, or when it learns how to walk and that kind of thing, or, you know, just general family moments, then I would say this is a kind of camera that would suit you very well. And if you want something very lightweight for vlogging, it would be quite a good addition, although you can't use a USB microphone with it. It doesn't work with the Insta360 adapter to my knowledge yet. Maybe that's updatable with a firmware, I don't know. So I would put this in the category of being a lifestyle camera that you can use as an action camera if you wanted to do so. It's very versatile, it's very lightweight, it's very compact. It works really well for what it's designed to do. I really like this camera. I think it's a very cleverly thought out product. And if you're more into lifestyle and you want a camera that you can use as an action camera if you want it, it's worth checking this camera out. I will say though, it is a very similar price to the GoPro Hero 11. It's not an inexpensive camera, and you will also need to buy lots of these different mounts, these magnetic mounts, if you want to mount it in different positions all the time. So that is something else to consider. And remember, those mounts are not going to be compatible necessarily with any follow-up camera that you buy. If Insta360 beefs up this magnetic mount, you might find on the next camera you might have to buy them all over again, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.